Hello everybody, welcome to Ignis Inferno, my YouTube channel where I do reactions to stuff I enjoy. Today I'm gonna be looking at the Axeman's video, why was Yugioh so awesome and what happened to it. Now, Yugioh was one of the most awesome some card games and anime for me as a child, and I love the hell out of it. I watched the original Yugioh series maybe at least 15 times, and because it was that good. But the card game became absolutely dog shit. So, let's see what this guy has to say about why Yu-Gi-Oh was awesome, but something happened to it that made it not awesome. So, shout out to the Eggman, and go watch his video if you haven't, and if you enjoy, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get on with it.
Long ago, when the pyramids were still young, grade school children played a game of great and terrible power. But these Yu-Gi-Oh duels erupted into chaos, as nobody could agree what the rules were, until a great and powerful sixth grader locked away his card collection, imprisoning it within the 9 Millennium shoeboxes.
Okay.
Now, 5,000 years later, a boy named Yugioh has unlocked the shoeboxes and rediscovered the lost card game of his childhood. For destiny has chosen him to explain why it was so awesome. Just as the brave 6th grader did 5,000 years ago.
Inside him. Boom. Damn, this intro is so fucking good. Like, damn, the original Yu-Gi-Oh series has like one of the best intros ever. Your move. Yu-Gi-Oh. Oh no. Monetization.
Somebody help him. Help him to the hospital.
Nice. Wow, there's a lot of other stuff as well. Yu-Gi-Oh! Why was Yu-Gi-Oh so awesome? Let's find out.
What's up, duelists? This is the Act Man here, and today it's time to discuss my favorite trading card game, Harry Potter. I summon Hagrid in attack position. Look, I even did my hair for you. Why don't we go out anymore? You used to take me to Dance Dance Revolution all the time, and now you... With all the epic moments in the anime, iconic monsters, and that legendary art style, Yu-Gi-Oh is certainly a once-in-a-millennium franchise.
Oh. Please don't
this was the largest Millennium puzzle necklace I could get. I did my best, okay?
Yeah, like the original Millennium puzzle is like
just
so
look
big.
At its sales. You ever hear of a cardboard company making over $10 billion?
Damn.
Oh, I guess cardboard is actually quite the booming industry. Despite my rose-tinted glasses, I can't deny that Yu-Gi-Oh is both the dumbest and coolest card game ever made.
No, it's just dumb.
To be scared to attack?
Well,
it's just dumb.
only if destroying an innocent soul can serve.
Yu-Gi-Oh was awesome before, it's now just dumb.
As the president of a major corporation, I have to do that every day.
Dog like Kaiba, huh? Okay.
You know a game's complex when the characters spend half of every episode explaining what their cards do and making up rules as they go along.
Yeah.
Then I'll activate my Pot of Greed! This lets me draw 2 cards!
Oh, so that's
Pot
what
of
it
Greed?
does. I had no idea.
So that's what it does.
Greed
What?
lets me draw 2 cards from my deck!
No
I heard you
way.
the first time, actually.
Pot of Greed! It allows me to draw
Oh,
2
no.
cards to refresh my hand.
You don't have to keep
it allows
explaining
me to draw 2 more cards.
this card.
So I can draw
You
2
can stop.
No, you need to explain it because nobody knows what a card
Quit it.
does.
So I draw 2 cards.
What does Pot of Greed do again? And yet, because of its
Nobody
absurd
knows.
complexity, there are countless methods to pull some sick combo on your unsuspecting opponent.
Activate. 3 blasting the ruins.
Yeah, he
Yu-Gi-Oh
wins.
is such a broad topic with the anime, the massive changes between the Japanese and English dubs,
Yeah.
the somewhat
Orchids.
forgotten Season
Censorship.
0. Yu-Gi-Oh's history spans over 20 years, so it'd be a monumental task to try and cover everything about it in one video. So I won't. So the main
Cool.
focus of today is going to
Then
be
it's
on the
gonna be a long
trading
video.
card game Duel Monsters. And anytime you say Duel Monsters, you have to kind of put on an epic voice. You can't just say Duel Monsters. No, it's Duel Monsters.
Yeah.
Now that we got the field set up, what was it about Yu-Gi-Oh that made it so cool? How did Duel Monsters succeed, and has it lost some of that initial cool factor that made it so appealing in the first place? Why was Yu-Gi-Oh so awesome? And
I don't know.
what happened to it?
Ever cringe at those
Oh my
tricky
god.
game
No. Why?
ads? They show you a cool game, but when you download it, surprise!
Monsters. Now that we
I
got the
have-
field set
so I
up,
have
what was it
upload
about
here.
Yu-Gi-Oh that made it so cool? How did Duel Monsters succeed, and has it lost some of that initial cool factor that made it so appealing in the first place? Why was Yu-Gi-Oh so awesome?
I don't know.
And
Let's find out.
what happened to it? Now, you can't talk about the game without mentioning the anime. Long story short, the small kid named Yugi gets bullied a lot because he doesn't have green hair. He
Yeah.
lives in a world where everyone has
Basically.
ridiculous haircuts, and eventually he obtains and solves the Millennium Puzzle.
Yugi's
Yugi
haircut
then
is like the most
absorbs the
ridiculous
soul
anything.
of an ancient Egyptian pharaoh named Atem and gets an alter ego, Yami Yugi.
And
Yep.
together the two run amok within society by challenging people of questionable morals to a game of chance, and then if they lose, killing them, banishing
Oh.
their soul to eternal damnation in the
Oh.
Shadow Realm. Wait, the main
Oh,
character
boy.
does all this? That's right, the protagonist of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
is a mass-murdering vigilante.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
That's fucking
was a horror manga.
badass.
Oh my
But what
God.
we got here in America was the pussy version of Yu-Gi-Oh! The show, as the company
Hmm.
responsible for the English dub for kids insisted on removing anything remotely related to religion, sex,
Yep.
titties, basically anything cool. They censored Taya going to the bathroom.
What?
Why?
Some of the things were very obscure that they would censor. They would censor like
What?
midriff, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting because people
Oh
don't
my
realize
God.
that as kids because it's like the first time you've seen it, and you might be wondering like what's going on. Like some people have guns pointed to their head, but they're just holding nothing.
Yeah, they're pretending like they have guns.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, the finger guns.
We'll shoot you with our invisible guns.
And in
Oh my
America,
God.
we didn't even get season 0, probably
Yeah.
because the series at this point had very little to do with Duel Monsters, and instead
Yeah.
focused on ironic and dangerous games of chance, which you can't make a card game out of.
True.
Most times the antagonist would end up cheating, and Atem would be like, I knew you wouldn't play by the rules. You know, one of his teachers was kind of a bitch and obsessed with her beauty, so as punishment for cheating in the Shadow game, Atem made her face crack and fall apart every time she felt vain.
Oh
the
my
dude
God.
who held Taya hostage at gunpoint failed the Shadow game and was doomed to believe he's on fire for all eternity.
Oh, shit.
Damn, dude. Don't
No.
fuck with Yugi's chick.
Damn.
So, pretty hardcore
Damn.
stuff, right? But somewhere along the line, it was decided that all these unique Shadow games would morph into one, played with cards, monsters,
Huh.
and real magic. Whether or not the anime was just a
Interesting.
vessel to sell trading cards, I can't say. But a major reason Yu-Gi-Oh! Was so awesome is its premise. You're reliving ancient Egyptian battles in games of life and death. And if you lose,
Looks like you're going to the Shadow Realm, Jimbo.
Did you know
Oh
there was
my.
a series called 5Ds where the main characters
Yep.
all dueled while riding motorcycles? Yes. like-
Car games on motorcycles.
This was
So
real.
maybe, yeah.
Card games on motorcycles.
Card games on motorcycles!
Car games on
Like,
motorcycles.
how do you even handle a
How?
deck on a fucking motorcycle?
Like, wouldn't the
Wouldn't
cars just
just
fly out?
everywhere?
Yeah,
What's the
exactly.
actual advantage of... You know what?
What?
I've got too many questions.
I suppose I should
Just
explain
don't
how
think about
Yu-Gi-Oh!
it,
is played
I
for
guess.
all you heathens that are unaware.
Cause I figure, if there is intelligent life out there, then let's teach them how to duel.
No. If there actually is intelligent life, they would know not to play this game because it's so fucking ridiculous. At this
On
moment.
paper, it seems pretty straightforward. Each player has 8,000 or 4,000 life points, and whoever runs out first loses.
Yeah.
Monsters are the main form of attack and defense. Spells usually have some positive benefit for you, while traps act as traps for your opponent.
You triggered my trap card!
To me, like, that's almost like indicative of what Yu-Gi-Oh is like, you've activated my trap card, right? Like, you don't just get to like do your turn and then freeze and like nothing else happens. It's like, you know, you've activated my trap, I use this, I use that, you know, you thought type of, you know, those sort of comebacks.
You thought,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You thought.
There's a lot more
And with the rise of hand traps, like, you don't even know if, basically, with the rise of hand traps in Yu-Gi-Oh, basically the opponent always has like as many trap cards as their face down cards on the field and cards in the hand. So they always have something they can respond to you with, and they rarely break with anything.
more to it than that, but Duel Monsters was all about building a deck of 40 or more cards that synergize and create a cohesive strategy. You know, come to think of it, why does the society resolve all their personal disputes by playing a children's card game? You know what? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, like,
what does matter is that
basically, I want to be fucking president of America. I'm gonna do the current president, challenge him into card game, take his soul, and then I'm the president of America. Like, what? How does that make any sense? Like, guns, and boom! Now you're not the president of America, you're just dead. Dunzo.
Pegasus stole Grandpa Moto's soul, okay? And we're getting it back. So, okay, we got this cool idea around losing and gaining life points with monsters. What sorts of mechanics can we build around that? Too many mechanics is the answer.
Yep.
You don't think the game needs more methods of summoning?
Oh, certainly not.
No.
Anything but that.
No, please no.
Now, to understand where I'm coming from with my critiques and praise for the game, I should tell you my experience first. I have a confession to make, and I think I owe you all some honesty.
I have a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Holy.
Unfortunately, no, I am not a virgin.
Wow.
I hope you can accept me into your ranks despite that.
I discovered Yu-Gi-Oh! At the best time
And I
possible.
thought I had
in the
a lot of
4th
cards.
grade. Must have been 2003. It was the point where, you know, I was starting to distance myself from the things I thought were too kiddie for me. So at that point, Pokemon just wasn't cutting it for me. I needed something to fill the bottomless trap hole inside me. So why was Yu-Gi-Oh! Worthy? Why is it something I'm still spending money on, collecting, and talking about? Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Worthy. Why is it something
Okay, I have a copy of this, the Saga of the Blue Eyes. I have a copy of these two, and everything else he has, I more or less maybe don't have. Oh no, I actually think I have I have one of these boxes. This is here, but I'm not quite sure which one. Huh. It was the one which had like the original Yu-Gi deck of Battle City. It had some good cards in it.
I'm still spending money on, collecting, and talking about. Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Never stopped being cool. They just made a bunch of new stuff that was lame as fuck.
I mean, why was why was Crystal Beast Topaz? No, wait, Topaz was a tiger. Why was he Russian? Why was the elephant Russian? Like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger getting get to the chopper. I cannot do a Russian accent, so that's what you get from me. And he is just going like hasta la vista. Like shut the
Think of Yu-Gi-Oh! What are the iconic cards, monsters, and images that come to your head, like, immediately?
Iconic cards.
The cards that come to mind more for me are things like, you know, the Monarch monsters.
You gotta go with like the OGs, right? Blue Eyes,
Yep,
Dark Magician, Red Eyes.
yep.
People still think about these to this.
And honestly, Blue Eyes and Dark Magician, they have like so much support. Like basically every fucking card, Yuki played a card once, and that card in nowadays has like so much support. Gaia of the Fierce Knight, Curse of Dragon, Dark Magician, Dark Magician Hero, the Blue Eyes cards, the Red Eyes cards, every fucking card that was played in the fucking original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series has modern support. which is cool and all. Like they're kind of modernizing those cards and bringing them into the life now. But also, like, I don't know.
Stay. People just immediately think, oh, that's the game with blue eyes. That's like the Yugioh Charizard. And then there's like Dark Magician.
He has never let me down.
Like those cards are
100%
iconic.
Blackluster Soldier.
Oh,
at the beginning.
yeah.
I would just throw that card in no matter what the deck was, even if it was like a water deck, because it was just that good.
You know, like Breaker the Magical Warrior, Spirit Reaper, Sangan, Witch of the Black Forest.
A lot of people will go with the classic like Pot of Greed, things like Monster Reborn, Blue Eyes, Red Eyes, Jinzo even.
Maybe for me though, it actually would be Exodia.
Exodia! Obliterate!
Like that card a lot. It's iconic. I think a lot of people outside of Yu-Gi-Oh know about it. Exodia is a big one, definitely.
I think altogether, like, that is the poster for the game, without a doubt.
These weren't Pokemon, they were monsters. This wasn't a game of cute little animals smacking each other. No, bitch, you think Summon Skull is gonna show you mercy?
Here's what I've got. The mighty Summoned Skull!
The art of the cards, pun intended, is what initially caught my eye. I didn't know anything about how to play the game. All I knew was there were dope monsters with kick-ass names and gorgeous holographic backgrounds right in front of me, and I wanted them. The imposing presence of Jinzo, the mysterious horror of Relinquished, and the badass armor of the Blackluster Soldier. Egyptian.
No kidding. Blackluster Soldier, like, honestly, one of my favorite cards. She's just awesome. And yes, Blackluster Soldier is a she. I think. Whatever.
And God cards, Exodia, a monster so powerful it's illegal to play him. All of it was etched into
not
my
illegal,
mind.
but
you know, there's a reason cards
extremely
like
hard.
Blue Eyes White Dragon, Dark Magician, Jinzo, and Hungry Burger all became iconic staples. It's why there are also unironic tier lists.
Honestly, like the Egyptian God cards also were like hyped up to be stronger than Exodia. But no, like Exodia, you just assemble all of Exodia's pieces. Which is like granted really hard to do, but fucking Yugi, the king of games that has the Millennium Puzzle that gives him like super luck, like would be able to pull it out every fucking king do he wanted to, like on his opening hand and just instantly win the game by just a rule. And no, just the Egyptian God cards were stronger than them, stronger than Exodia. Like granted, they were stronger in like that D&D game that they played in the end, but they were not stronger in the card game, even in the original series of Yu-Gi-Oh!
The Dark Magician Girl card art. I think some of you have taken things a bit too far. The card game sold because of the anime, and people watched the anime because of the card game. You know, kids wanted to roleplay as Joey Wheeler and get his structure deck from Red Eyes Black Dragon. Or they wanted to play as Pegasus and summon Relinquished and all his wacky toon monsters. That's not to say every card was a slapper in the art department.
No,
I mean,
my god.
Griggle.
No.
And Firegrass. And my personal favorite, Bat. Yeah, just
a
Bat. A
Just
lot
a
of
bat.
monsters released very early on are pretty gross to look at.
Yo,
but in some ways, I felt that, like, disgusting kind of...
Like, honestly, the Wicked Worm Beast and... No, just the Wicked Worm Beast. Like, what? What even is he? He's supposed to be like, oh my god.
Gross to look at, but in some ways I felt that disgusting kind of spooky scary look fit the dark theme of the story's plot. Initially, dual monsters wasn't rocket science, but apparently that's what it's turned into.
Yeah.
Last year, after not playing the Pokemon card game for probably 18 years, I got back into it. And what I expected was to be blindsided by all sorts of crazy new mechanics, and I thought the pace of the game would have turtled up to Sonic levels of super speed.
Yeah.
In reality, it took 20 minutes for me to relearn the rules and understand the new types of cards.
Oh.
If you tried coming back to Yu-Gi-Oh! After taking
Just
an
20 minutes.
18-year break, you got no chance.
Yep. Holy shit! Is this a real card? Oh my god. I'm like, look at this. Like, look at all of this. There are at least 5 words on this card. That's 5 words, way too many. Oh, this is so fucking stupid. Why, Konami? Just find a way to shorten them, or go with the Yugioh Rush do thing that shortens the card text so much. Why? Why do you do this?
The fuck is that?
The amount of new mechanics and stuff you gotta learn just to competently play will make your head spin.
That's another thing too, is like, you know, modern Yu-Gi-Oh! The power level of it is extremely high. There's been a lot of power creep in this game, and people sometimes try to get back into it and they're like, hey, can I play the same deck I played in like 2010 or something? It's like, no, you can't. I mean, that deck might have new support by today's standards, but like still just the stuff that was good even just a few years ago isn't at all competitive today. And
how did this
like, honestly, the only cards in modern Yu-Gi-Oh that are actually played from like the olden days are like just the cards that were way overpowered back then, like Roigeki, Keith, Harpy's Feather Duster, and whatnot. And those cards are, as I know it currently, are still either only limited or semi-limited. Instead of just being rolled out of the fucking Yu-Gi-Oh meta and just not even being allowed to be played at all. Like, why doesn't Yu-Gi-Oh have an eternal set and like a standard set? Like, what?
Simple game of strategy turn into a fucking Einstein project? First, I'd like to dispel the myth that Yu-Gi-Oh never had balancing problems. The game was flawed from the start, okay?
Yeah.
Although monsters were divided by type, attribute, and level, whether or not they were good usually came down to 2 things. How high is its attack? How many tributes does it require? Level 4 monsters don't need
in the olden days,
level 5 and 6 require 1, and anything above that, 2.
My grandpa's deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba.
Except for all the 4-star monsters that aren't Lajin, the mystical genie of the lamp. The best normal summon monster was Hitatsumi Giant at one point. Then it was Lajin, Mechanical Chaser, Gemini Elf, Alexandrite Dragon. Keep in mind, in the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh,
just straight up vanilla
were pretty
monsters.
uncommon, and the ones that did have effects, often they were so bad it wasn't worth using them. So even as a child, I knew it was stupid that some cards were just arbitrarily better than others for no discernible reason.
My Beaver Warrior!
Look at a card as badass as Serpent Night Dragon.
Yeah, it's like Serpent Night Dragon, he has like 7 stars, and it has just 350 attack points. Requires 2 tributes to summon it. Why would you play this instead of Summon Skull? Unless you have like a specific card that targets this monster in particular. Like, the dragon looks cool, I will grant it that. But the design of the card itself? No. Just throw in Summon Skull and he dies. Doesn't even have the defense to survive Summon Skull, actually.
Yet it's completely useless. Why not put Red Eyes in your deck instead? Well, wait a minute, why use Red Eyes when Dark Magician is better? Well, hold on, why would you use Dark Magician when Blue Eyes White Dragon is the best 2 tribute monster? Looking back, it's clear the anime had a huge influence on the card game itself, but they couldn't just copy the rules from the anime because the rules made no sense.
Okay, I will grant it that, like, as I understand it, in like season 1 of the original Duel Monsters, in like Duelist Kingdom, was it, arc? The Pegasus arc, basically. It was basically like Yu-Gi-Oh combined with D&D. And that's why basically they made up rules as they went and whatnot, like, because they weren't only playing a card game, they were playing a card game like it was Dungeons and Dragons. Guns related. And then when the Battle City tournament art started, after that they like made the rules happen completely. At least that's what I know about it. But Yeah, it's a meme, but
My great
that's it.
moth, and none of his land monsters have the ability to attack me in the air.
What are you talking about?
They just gave normal
Yeah.
monsters effects that were convenient for the situation they were in, which is certainly a lot more interesting than characters saying, haha, my monster has higher attack.
Yeah.
Why? When watching Season 0 for the first time, I thought it was interesting the idea of the board affecting the attack and defense stats of a monster. Like, if you
Yeah, that
summoned
was
a
actually
winged beast
really
in the
interesting.
mountainous area, it would gain attack. It's funny how this mechanic that was introduced in Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0 didn't actually make it to the card game until Link Monsters came out. When there are so many rules, mechanics,
actually,
and
yeah.
nuances to the game, it's impossible to properly balance over 12,000 different cards. Especially
That's a lot of
when
cards.
all it takes is for 2 of those cards used together to break the game.
Because if you just sort of like dump someone into 2022 Yu-Gi-Oh! And you just say, here, take this starter deck or structure deck and like go to locals and figure it out, it's like hell on earth. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's so many things.
It's literally like taking a soldier from any army, throwing them butt-ass naked into a war zone, and telling them good luck.
So many nitpicky rulings, so many crazy decks that will just overwhelm you. And I think like Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't really have a format that is
New user friendly?
new user friendly.
Yeah.
Point is, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was always flawed. And I loved it regardless. But when a monster's usability is mostly determined by one stat, well, it sets the stage for power creep to take over. And take over, power creep did. The nice thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is any complaints I have with the game aren't really that important. Just because Konami releases a set of cards that I think are really busted or stupid or I don't want to be fucked to read them, well, that doesn't change how
Don't
me and my
blame you.
buddies play the game. You know, I'll be like, hey Roman, can you not play with any pendulum cards? Thank you. So if I start ass blasting dual monsters, then just know I love Yu-Gi-Oh! And that will never change. With that being said, holy fuck, the game mechanics have been power crept. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has gone up to 11 so hard, I don't even know where to start with this.
Would you say the power creep is kind of evened out now?
I don't know, like, because we're currently in a format in the TCG where, like, power creep has gotten pretty out of hand. So that's where it's like, it kind of comes in waves, you know? You'll have, like, lulls, you'll have high points of power creep. I think right now, specifically, power creep is a bit out of hand.
What drew me to Yu-Gi-Oh! Was the creativity and like, I like playing against my opponent. He makes this card. What can I do to deal with this? But now, modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is you make enough cards that say this card negates and destroys my opponent's effect. You make 6 of those and it doesn't matter. Like, you could be the best player in the world. It doesn't matter how good you are. You cannot outplay certain mechanics of the game. Certain things will just say you can't special summon. Doesn't matter. You can take the worst player, give him that one Yu-Gi-Oh! Card, and like even if he's brand new to the game, he can activate that and it's game over.
I don't know, maybe the problem is the business model. How do we sell new cards? Just make them better than the old ones. It's the same problem MMORPGs have, where a new expansion has to increase the power level somehow, otherwise why buy it?
This goes back to the fact that this game is exceptionally...
It's kind of the why even in actually Riot Games perspective, when they release a new champion for League of Legends, the new champion is basically always OP. Like, okay, currently Briar was the last champion released in League of Legends. And she was kind of fine. Like, people were still learning her. She had a lower percent win rate. But Riot Games just like instantly, the next patch buffed her. And then she had like a over 50% win rate. I think it was around 55% win rate or something. And then like they're mega nerfing her as well again. It's kind of the same thing. Like, they need new things to be like really strong. The companies that make this shit need the new things to be like really strong, really powerful. Or just why would the players just bother having those new things in the first place?
Old, and when you have a game that is running for 15, 20 years plus, how do you sell your new product? Well, I mean, you have to make and create new cards that are enticing and interesting for people to want to play. Well, naturally, if there's no end point where you just keep making slightly more powerful cards, 5 more iterations of Raigeki, you're just going to end up with these ridiculously overpowered cards that just trump them in every way possible.
Yeah, like the only reason Raigeki is like limited or semi-limited at the moment, I think. I don't really know the ban list, I would admit, is because like there are tons of cards that basically negate your opponent's cards, destroy them, or just straight up do the same shit Raigeki does, but better.
Out of Super Greed, draw 3 cards.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
Looking back at Pokemon and from what I know of Magic the Gathering, the amount of things you can do in a turn is limited by resources.
Yeah.
Yugioh isn't like this.
Yeah.
I will now initiate a pendulum summon!
I
will now place 2 monsters in my pendulum zone, and I can summon 5 monsters at once!
What the fuck?
There is no limit to the number of monsters you can summon, cards you can search from your deck, cards you can get back from your graveyard to your hand, or cards that you can fusion and special summon and do all this crazy shit. Yugioh has gotten to a point where so much shit is happening, you can end up having 15-minute long turns.
Yeah.
Where someone goes through half of their deck, has 10 cards in the graveyard, and like 8 cards in their hand, 5 monsters on the field on the first turn.
Yeah.
And they all have effects that negate other effects. So your opponent is basically locked out of playing, which is the most unfun thing that can happen in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Exactly, like, the modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like, you, like Master Duel, you basically flip a coin, you either get the option to pick if you're going first or if you're going second. 100% of the time, and basically you just want to go first, because by going first, you're able to play your combo, probably, lock your opponent out of absolutely playing the game, and absolutely him not at all having any type of fun, and then just boom, you win. You didn't win by outplaying your opponent. You didn't win by like having a better strategy. You didn't win by interacting with your opponent, going back and forth, or having that like interaction with him. You just won by playing your cards first and locking your opponent out of playing the game. How is that fun? I don't know.
This is why everybody hated the Yada lock, because it just locked you out from playing the game. That's not fun.
Yu-Gi-Oh's gotten to the point literally where your whole goal turn 1 is literally to make it so your opponent cannot Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly
a very
what I said.
Interesting design decision. I mean, this is even at the highest level of competitive.
Yeah.
I can't play my deck. I can't go into my extra deck. If I try and play with just my cards in my hand, you just negate them.
Yeah.
And I just sat here for 10-15 minutes waiting for you to just set that up.
Yeah.
So Konami kept increasing the power level and utility of cards in a new set, but then the one after has to be slightly more powerful. And then the one after that. And when you keep that mindset for over 20 years, well, it certainly explains the state of modern Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
If you try to duel a modern deck with something in GOAT format, it would go something like this.
Alright, so I'm going to sacrifice the Legendary Fisherman to summon the Legendary Fisherman number 3, which banishes all of your monsters. It banishes all of them? Okay, so then I'm going to activate Mirror Force since you attack and destroy it. He can't be destroyed by spells or traps. What? Alrighty
Okay.
then, I special summon Blue Eyes to attack your Legendary Fisherman. He can't be destroyed by battle. So then I use Compulsory Evacuation device.
Okay, he didn't. Like, how did he special summon Blue Eyes? But okay.
To return him to your hand. He is unaffected by all spells and traps.
Oh
okay,
my god.
So I'm gonna punch you in the mouth and then I'm gonna flip this table over.
If I were to explain all the rules
that's basically
to Yu-Gi-Oh, we'd be here for the next millennium.
Yeah.
And
I see
that's
what
the
you did
problem.
there.
Look at the official beginner's guide for Yu-Gi-Oh! It's 30 pages long. The difference is, most turns back in the day would be like, I draw, I set 2 cards, I summon this monster in attack mode. Any confusions around the rules or what was supposed to happen was usually a result of cards being written vaguely. Now, like I said, what's cool about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the wide array of strategies you can use. I activate Mirror Force, while I use 7 tools of the bandit to negate it. Get fucked, nerd.
I got an old school Goat Warrior deck, a modern Umi deck.
I've assembled all 5 special cards, all 5 pieces of the puzzle.
Hell, you can even make a deck around the god cards now. Now ain't that fucking awesome? So I love coming up with new
Okay, but shout out, why doesn't Ra have a structure deck yet? Like, come on, Konami. Make a Ra structure deck now. Make a Ra structure deck now. Make it. Or else. I don't know what else. Just make it.
strats and playstyles. What sucks about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is having to understand all those strats and playstyles.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna discard the left leg of the Forbidden One, and that'll get me the Dark Bribe from my deck. I set Dark Bribe in face down defense position in the spell and trap zone. When I do that, I get to draw the bottom half of my deck and add it to my hand. I special summon Nimble Momonga in sideways diagonal position, and Witch of the Black Forest in upside down position.
Oh my god.
I will put.
Okay, but fair point. Besides having like the positions of defense, attack, face down or face up, how have Yu-Gi-Oh not come up with another position yet? Oh no, maybe that's their next broken strategy. Face down attack position. What could it be? What could it be? Oh no! Oh no.
Gravity Bind on the field as the field stealth card, and then activate Messenger of Peace, which will allow me to get Scapegoat out on the field, and now I can add 1 card from my graveyard to my hand. When the left leg of the Forbidden One is added to my hand by a card effect, I get to add the rest of my deck to my hand. I have now drawn each of the 5 pieces of Exodia. The game is over, and I win.
Just look at all the ways there are to summon monsters on the field. Normal, special, set, tribute, flip, fusion, ritual, synchro, Ixies, pendulum, and link. Do you think that's enough?
Look at this.
Yes.
It's a fucking mess.
Yes.
You gotta keep track of the different phases, when a card can be activated, in what order card effects are supposed to happen, to illustrate the unnecessary complexity of dual monsters. Here's an example. One of my favorite decks is called Bad Reaction to Samochi. Anytime my opponent is supposed to gain life points, I suck that shit right back, and they lose it. In order to make this deck work, I have to stall for turns. One of the cards I use is Gravity Bind, which prevents monsters level 4 or higher from attacking. But, I summon a Link monster and an Ixies monster, and neither of these have levels, which means they're completely unaffected by Gravity Bind. For some reason. Even when you look at the Ixies cards, it's still got the stars, they're just on the other side, so naturally you'd assume that Gravity Bind would work the same way it always has, because why wouldn't it? So it makes the card far less useful in a modern format. Because Gravity Bind wasn't created with the idea that monsters would at some point just not have levels. Here's another example. Let's say your opponent has a powerful Link monster on the field, and you go, haha, I summon Tsukuyomi, and use its effect to flip your Link monster into face-down defense position where I can attack it and destroy it.
You cannot do
try,
that.
guy. Link monsters can't change their battle positions for any reason. Just last week, I was dueling my buddy's Predaplant deck, and a situation occurred that made me want to rip up all my copies of Blue Eyes. I had a monster that couldn't be targeted by other monster effects. And in my mind, that meant, okay, you can't single this guy out, Legendary Fisherman number 2. How naive I was to think it would be that simple. If you select a monster with an effect, but your effect doesn't include the word target, then it's not technically targeting and the effect still goes through.
What
fucking sense does that make? I pick that monster. I use this effect on that monster. I pick it. I target it. When I play a match of dual monsters, what I want to keep track of is what's on the field, what's in my hand, what's in the graveyard. What I don't want is to have to read every single one of my opponent's card effects to make sure it includes the word target. I think too often duels with newer cards just turn into like debates and science projects. Or a fucking reading lesson. It's not fun. I guess I wouldn't be so butthurt about new Yu-Gi-Oh cards if my old ones could still compete. Maybe Duel Monsters is meant to be played in formats or eras, you know? Reading is fun sometimes, but if I'm playing a game for fun, I usually don't like reading. Nothing takes all the emotion and intensity out of a duel with ancient Egyptian monsters than having to stop and read a 5-paragraph effect. There's actually a graph showing that the average word count in card effects has gone from 19 to 74.
the average words in a card effect.
Wow.
That's what 20 years of power creep does.
Yeah.
But hold on, why the drastic increase? Well, the main problem with balancing dual monsters comes down to one simple fact. Card advantage is the most important thing, and it always has been. Therefore, you need cards that do more things. It's why people that play Delinquent Duo deserve to get run over. Forcing your opponent to discard with little downsides is absolutely crippling, and it's also why Card of Greed is overpowered in Yu-Gi-Oh!, whereas in Pokemon, the same card isn't.
I think there's a couple of aspects that Yu-Gi-Oh cards like really struggle with. Number one, it's the power creep and making sure that cards are strong enough. And how do you do that?
Okay, Loki, I love that hat. It's so cute. That hat is so cute. Oh my god, I love it.
Well, usually just the more they do, the better of a card it is, right? A card with 3 effects is sometimes just gonna probably statistically just be better than a card with 1 effect.
Yeah.
So in the olden days, spells, traps, and effect monsters could usually do 1 or 2, maybe 3 things tops in a single turn, and that was it. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Had a lot of really cool spells and traps and monsters with elaborate effects. As long as they could only do a couple of things, it wasn't that hard to memorize. A wall of text on Black Luster Soldier might seem daunting to read, but in reality, 1/3 of the effect is just the summoning requirements. The 2 effects BLS has can't be activated on the same turn. Same thing with Relinquished, what I call the first novel card. But now in modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, that's like every single card. For some reason, every card has to do 4 different things. Even the...
What the fuck? I think this is way more than 79 words. I'm not gonna count them, but what the hell? This is way more than 79 words. Oh my god. I'm just having... No.
Commons.
Yeah, it's a tough sell. Like, are you ready to sit here and read all these cards and memorize all these effects and like all the kind of nitpicky writing that gets very... It's fussy, right? Like, you know, whether or not this has a semicolon or not, that changes everything with the effect.
So many cards have interchangeable effects that all morph together. They'll do something when added to your hand, when you summon it, when it goes to the graveyard, then you can banish it from the graveyard to do something else. None of these are a problem on their own, but when combined as often as they are, it just becomes a fucking nightmare. And then it's like, I'm not sure when this endless combo my opponent is playing is ever going to end, so I don't even know when to activate my traps.
My fucking god, when will it end? Honestly,
it will never
you're
end.
gonna have no cards by the time your turn is over. Is that what you're trying to... Yo, wake me up when this shit's over.
That's another thing. Power creep progressed so far that at one point, traps and flip effect monsters were considered too slow to play.
Yeah.
1/3 of the game is too slow to be played.
Yeah.
What? So they had to come up with hand traps. Basically, traps you activate from the hand. And that's the thing.
Wow.
Hand trap? That doesn't even make sense. You have to lay a trap before it can activate. That's why you had to put it down and you couldn't activate it the same turn. You were laying a trap. You want to talk about card text? Take a look at this asshole. Endy Mayon to my...
Holy shit, this one. Oh no, oh no, not this one. Oh. This guy beat me so hard so many times, and I still have no idea what he does, because I will never read this. I refuse to ever read what he does and learn it, because it's way too much text. It's way too much.
Mighty Master of Magic.
What the fuck is that?
They had to sacrifice 1/5 of the card art just to add more effects.
Yeah.
It's like every card turned into a Bible passage or something.
Oh.
Wow, that's a lot of words.
Oh.
Too bad I'm not reading them.
Yeah.
This is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. If you boil this card down, it has a summoning requirement. It has 2 effects when it's summoned, and 2 effects while it's on the field, and an effect when it goes to the graveyard.
Huh.
1 card that does 5 things. 5 effects you have to keep track of. I've always thought to prevent these levels of power creep, Yu-Gi-Oh! Should have implemented unique tactics, gimmicks maybe, while updating older cards. I don't know, maybe some cards have HP and will be destroyed after taking a certain amount of damage, or maybe Celtic Guardian can block one attack against a friendly monster next to him. What if there were formations, you know, if you could stack up weak monsters in front of strong ranged ones? They kind of dabbled with that in the show. It'd be naive to think
like
that
it could
monsters
be
would
interesting.
be the exact same
More
game
interesting
for
than
20
what we
years.
have now.
Not many card games stay relevant without innovation. Wait, what? Dude, new Solitaire just dropped? Holy shit! Whatever painful choices Konami had to make, well, it's kept the game alive. And I'd rather people be able to play and enjoy new Yu-Gi-Oh! Than not at all. Because I can still play with the cool cards. However, the more Yu-Gi-Oh! Drifted away from its ancient Egyptian roots, the stupider the game and the anime started to feel. And I'm not even talking about game mechanics. Just the art, names, and archetypes. I guess there's only so many Egyptian-themed cards and booster sets you can sell before that gets old, so where do you go from there? You run out of ideas and say, well, fuck it, I don't know, have the characters duel on motorcycles. Where's the rest of the coke? But we need to understand what's really stupid about modern Yu-Gi-Oh! See, back in the day, most cards were pretty straightforward. The names made sense, and only a handful were super long or confusing, right? Trap hole. Summon a monster, it falls down the hole, it dies. Man-eater bug. You flip it up, it eats a monster. It's a bug. Mystical space typhoon. Destroy one spell a trap. Mirror force. You attack me? Sayonara, bitch. The cards had names, art, and effects that all fit a theme or a type of action. I've always thought Michizur was super cool because it's like, one monster's dying and the other one's pulling him down too. Rope of Life. You pay a cost to bring back a monster stronger than before.
That actually makes
Burial.
sense.
You're burying your own monster in the graveyard, which some might consider to be foolish.
Some might consider it to be foolish, and yet that effect is like one of the strongest ones now, and the card is still just limited to one. Oh my god.
Simple, easy to understand concepts. So, what the fuck happened to Yu-Gi-Oh's simplicity? It's like every new card that comes out is part of some kind of, what is it, archetype? Hey kids, would you rather play the deck with the giant sea serpents, freaky fishmen, and hot mermaids? Or a deck that's based on French and Italian desserts or animal sounds? We went from menacing insects and hordes of zombies to cars?
To cars?
An archetype on cars? It's a combination of naming conventions and archetypes that...
Or like even worse, like the Dragon Maids. And the... What was it? Oh my god, I can't remember them right now. Now the... Sky Striker ones, like they're just basically anime waifus whose cards, like, what the hell?
Really pissed me off. Look at this one, Parapsychroid. It's a fucking bicycle, man. Come on. You summon a bicycle? We playing Yu-Gi-Oh! We're training for the Tour de France. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a game that had you announce every move you made, so it'd get real tiring if all your cards had stupidly long names or, you know, names that just sounded really dumb. Speaking of which, I can't wait to duel you with my Ga deck. And then I have a Do deck. Yes, those are real archetypes, and I could not...
Okay. I will admit, I like the onomatopoeia archetype. It's actually kind of fun. The Gagagas, the Dodo, the Go, and whatnot. They're kind of hilarious and fun.
Stop laughing if you played one against me. I thought this naming convention was just a joke reserved for Gigo. And then Gigo. And of course, Go Gigo. Don't you want to play a deck with cards that...
Honestly, I'm surprised those three cards are not part of the onomatopoeia deck archetype.
I'll start with Clip. I summon Clifford Disc, which allows me to get one Click card from my Click deck. Now they got an archetype based on cubes? What is this, Minecraft? Next you're gonna tell me there's an archetype about stuffed animals. Jesus Christ, look at this name. Crimson Nova Trinity, the Dark Cubic Lord. Number 38, Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy. These aren't even names, it's just a string of nonsense words. I can come up with random shit too. Numbered -73 1/3, Dragonic Spread-Shifting Doom Blaster of Legend. How about this one? Dan Mari at Ignister. What the shit is this supposed to be, huh? What the shit is this? And you might say, well, Act Man, you're pretending like there weren't dumb cards back in the glory days. Yeah, there were, but they were stupid and simple. Like Bat or Frog the Jam. Bat sucks. I'm sorry to all the hardcore Bat players out there, but he sucks. Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. Oh, and you can't forget I'm playing this card alongside my Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut Lieb. Blaze Phoenix the Burning Bombardment Bird. Why not just call it Blaze Phoenix? Prank Kids Meow Meow Moo. This is a joke, right? This is like you created the lamest archetype that nobody would ever want to play. Is that a joke? Prank Kids Bow Wow Bark.
Oh. What the?
How about this one? DDD Dragon King Pendragon.
Okay. I think the DDD standard for like different dimension demons. If I'm not mistaken.
Of course, because it was necessary for dragon to be in the card's name twice, and it's not even a dragon type, it's a fiend! What the fuck? What the fuck? Okay, this is where I draw the
dragon fiend?
Right? DDD. Super Doom King, Purple Armageddon. There is a card that I found.
Wow.
It's called DDD Super Doom King, Purple Armageddon. And in the
Just
card
listen
effect,
to that name.
and in the card effect, it says you can only use the effect of DDD Super Doom King, Purple Armageddon once per turn. And I feel like that could just be swapped out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, why not just say you can only use the effect like of this card and other card effects that have the same name of that card once per turn. Though I think that actually is longer than the actual card game's name.
Like just the once per turn restriction on that card is like 10 words, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I get why they want to say you can only use it once. Like maybe if you have like multiple copies or whatever, it could be broken. But like, I don't know why they don't just use like a one symbol, like a one with a circle around it or something.
Yeah,
like just,
something like that.
And a little circle on the card.
Yeah, so that way like it just sort of says, because the thing is like the sentence is already kind of extra, and then the name of the card is already super long. So now the sentence has to say, you can only activate the effect of DDD Doom King blah 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 once per turn. And it's just like, did we have to say this much to get the point across? Like,
if you took out every rewritten card name and once per turn from the effects of all Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you would have deleted more words than the combined works of William Shakespeare. And I'm cherry picking shit, but I really don't get as excited about new cards as I did with old ones. To be fair, there are some new archetypes, and they actually make cards to support Blue Eyes and Red Eyes Dark Magician decks and some other classics. I think all that stuff's really cool.
Yeah.
But what I really hate about archetypes is how it makes opening packs far less thrilling and exciting. Remember this, the simpler the card, the easier it is to fit into most decks. Sangan or Witch of the Black Forest. Reinforcement of the Army is clearly meant to be used alongside Marauding Captain, but it doesn't have to be. But nowadays when you open a pack and you see like each card has to work in a separate archetype, it just takes the fun out of it, because most cards in an archetype can't be used outside of that deck. So there's no creativity involved. You either play the deck the card is made for, or you don't play the card at all.
Yeah.
No, you can't just put this into your current deck. You have to build a whole new deck with 39 cards that are exactly like this one. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very complex game, with a long and complex history. It truly is the coolest and dumbest card game ever made. I love it to death, and likely always will. Sure, I can complain, bitch, and moan about ridiculous mechanics, dumb archetypes, and excessive card text, but at the end of the day, had I never played Yu-Gi-Oh!, my childhood would have been way worse. I can always play the version of Yu-Gi-Oh! That I knew and loved, and I don't have to play with the new shit I don't like. Because no matter where Yu-Gi-Oh! Goes as a game or an anime, I'll always be there, ready to Doro! So thank you all for watching. I hope this completely random and probably poorly structured video was entertaining at the least. Big shout outs to Paul from Team APS, Sladra, DZeef, and Farfa for answering my questions and taking part in this video. Links to their channels will be in the description. Please go check them out if you want more kick-ass
Okay. Wow. That was like a lot to impact. Like, yeah, modern Yu-Gi-Oh has become so nuts. It's absolutely nuts what modern Yu-Gi-Oh is. The card game is not at all friendly to new players. The olden times are like long gone and whatnot, but it is what it is. Uh, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's still a really good card game. It's still really interesting, awesome, and like the competitive scene is like, yeah, honestly, if Yu-Gi-Oh didn't exist, like it would have been like uh, most of our childhoods would have been just like that much more boring and not fun at all, or to be actually. Uh, anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Shout out to the Actman man for this video. Joe, if you haven't already, go watch his video. Joe, leave a comment, like. I'm gonna leave a like as well. Over here, or leave a comment, like on this video as well. We're gonna be making more reactions in the future. Currently, maybe making just like one reaction video, one or two reaction videos a week maybe, but I don't know. We'll see in the future. Maybe I'll do some more or something. Right now, my thumbnails are probably not the greatest, but we'll see in the future how I can like maybe fix that in a way. Wait, but yeah, without that being said, oh yeah, gonna be streaming on Twitch, which this Saturday, day for like for about like from 10 a.m. to like 12 p.m. I yeah to 12 p.m. Then like a 2 hour stream, gonna be playing some League of Legends, maybe some Yu-Gi-Oh probably. If you would like come if you like click the link in the description, follow me on Twitch. Which and yeah, that's about all we have to do or say right now, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.